streaming. All right. So we should be going live here in a second. Yep. It is starting the stream. So let's wait for some people to get in here before I start with the explaining this. And I should give them a few seconds for people to get in here. Here we go. We have some people in. This is Travis with Xray App. If you just want to introduce yourself real quickly, Travis, we will.
Hey guys, I've been working 3 years on an app. We call it MTG Xray, and you're going to see it in some stores like the Windows store, and then you'll see it in Android and iOS soon. Good to meet you.
Yeah, and so let us know if the audio is coming in okay. I did an audio check, but you never know with these streams. Sometimes it will start looping, and then I have to close out some stuff. So anyway, this is what it looks like here on your screen. We have a little bit covered just by Travis here, but it breaks it down into your basics: land, creature, artifact, enchantment, instant, planeswalker, sorcery, and your sideboards where we have everything loaded up right now. So for reference, this is from yesterday. Yesterday I did that deck tech for the Rivals of Ixalan pre-release pack. So I took one of these and opened it up, and it came up with a pile of cards, and I did a deck tech on it. And actually, cool story, we ran this yesterday with the Xray app, and after looking over the numbers and doing the simulations, which we'll get to in a second, I definitely have decided that this is not the right route to go. In fact, I'm thinking that two different routes are the right route to go with this deck. One being red-black pirates, and the other being the green-red dinosaurs, rather than the black-green kind of neither strategy that I had before. And a lot of it had to do with how the program was really simulating how much mana and how much power it can put on board in a typical, we did 7 and 8 round goldfish simulation. So I guess I'm going to just let Travis kind of explain what the kind of theory behind the app does, what exactly the app does, and then we'll do some simulations for you.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. Yeah, basically, once you tell the deck what pile of cards you're going to deal with, be it a limited draft pool or sealed pool in this case, and you get them down on your sideboard, you can basically guide the program. And Kevin, in a minute, is going to put a couple of his key cards in that he's thinking about building with. And once he's got those key cards in there, you can hit the think button. It can think 2-5 minutes, and it basically runs through millions of iterations trying to determine what is your best curve, how you're going to curve out, how much mana you're going to lay down in a game. And just with simple mana theory, I mean, this program doesn't really know anything about the cards other than Hunt the Wheat costs 3 and a green. Right? So it plays the lands just like you. Essentially, if you goldfish millions of games and sat there on a piece of paper and recorded how much mana you played, right, and how well you curved out, how often you got color screwed, that's what this program is doing for you. It's just saving you a lot of time. Probably could do 12 million games in about 10 minutes. So it's a lot of games, and it uses that to suggest a deck for you. So take it away, Kevin. Where you want to go with this?
Okay, so first of all, you set some parameters for the app. So we have this little setting bar here, and we're playing limited. Of course, you'd adjust this setting if you were playing a different type of format. And then you want to set the amount of rounds or turns it's going to simulate. So in this one, we're thinking that this format's about an 8-round turn, or 8-round. After playing it a couple times, that seems about pretty legit, 8 to 10. Actually, City's Blessing is very relevant in this format. For all of you that were watching the stream, you saw, especially the first one, City's Blessing was very relevant. Then you can set where you want to be with your deck. 15 to 18 lands is what I always recommend people run in a limited pool. So we could set this 15 to 18, but I'm more comfortable with 16 to 17. I rarely ever use 15 to 18 or 15 or 18. I'm always usually on the 16 or 17. And the how many creatures you want in the deck, and again, there's a lot of theories behind this. Like a lot of people say you want at least a minimum of 12 creatures. And of course, 23 would be the max, because if you did have 23 powerful creatures, it'd probably be better than running non-creature things at that point in a limited setting. So then you set the time amount of thinking time. The longer this goes on for, the more in-depth the program will get, the better the math will get. So you can set this for 2 minutes, 1 minute, 5 minutes to kind of set the how long you want the program to think for. And this is also, you can do if you just want it to calculate the best mana, you could just do it for the mana as well. So that's the settings tab right here. We've already done the decks. Decks is just adding new decks. And if you want to go just the mana, we have this function that you can click on that if you already have it, like if you had your 23 cards already put in the deck and then clicked on this mana button, it would try to give you the best mana, how it could utilize your deck. The think function comes into play when we're trying to figure out what the a few other cards you would like to put in there. It can help figure those out for you. Again, based upon the parameters of how much mana and how much power it can drop in those certain amount of turns. So that's really helpful. Or we can just hit the think button right now and it will take our sealed pool and try to give you the overall best scenario that it can push out with mana and power. So I think that's what we'll do first. We'll probably, I think that when we ran this, it didn't need a lot of thinking time. It came to the same conclusion quite quickly. Do you remember that from yesterday? Yeah. Last of all, the score button's kind of, this is kind of covered up on my logo, but underneath this just says score. So it just gives you a score of the deck based on how many games it plays comparative to other things. So anyway, anything else you want to add to that, Travis?
Yeah, I mean, expect on a typical computer to give it 5 minutes to think if you wanted to solve your entire sealed pool from scratch. And I still give it 5 minutes, even if I'm solving something that I've started to build. So in general, on my laptop, average laptop, it's taking me about 5 minutes to solve a deck. Less than that, it'll do an okay job, but you might see some weird garbage in there. And then you would kick the garbage out and just hit the think button again. So you can be iterative if you want, or you can try to have it solve it in one go. So it's kind of how much time you have.
All right, so we're going to hit the think button here. And you can start to see, if you look in the background, it will start to, you'll see the background start to throw in cards. So right now it's trying all 5 colors. And as time progresses, it's going to weed out certain scenarios that it doesn't like to just curve, again, based on just the mathy things, the curve, the power, and whatnot. And see here now it's gone 15 tests and it's tried over, is it up to 84,000 decks it's tried already? Is that where the...
Yeah, it's searching through about 86,000 combos, and it's taken all the top 100 decks and played them now 94 times. So it's very chaotic at first, and then as the progress bar moves to the right, it starts to settle down. So there's some interesting science behind it, but just know that it tries a lot of crazy things at first, and then it kind of gravitates towards a correct answer. And if you think about it, your sealed pool could have more than one correct answer. So if you run this multiple times, say to solve your entire sealed pool, it could actually come up with a different answer. But in general, if you give it enough time, it will gravitate towards one strongest, best answer.
Yeah, we might have needed to give this a little more time than the 2 minutes that I put it at, because it's still trying to weed out 3-color decks at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
What did we get it up to? The score that we got it up to yesterday was up to a 23, or was that, did we get higher? You had the numbers written down somewhere, but...
Yeah, a little bit higher than this when we gave it 5 minutes. Yeah. But, and then another concept, and so we're trying to solve the sealed pool from cold.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Just like no deck building suggestions at all. And so...
yeah, it'd probably take longer too. I also have a lot of programs running right now, which I didn't have yesterday, so I think it's slowing on my computer. So, for example, for this run, for the 2 minutes, the best one it could solve in that amount of time period is going to, you can click on the score button, and it shows you that it's going to drop 23 cards, or 23 mana cost.
No, units of mana.
Units of mana,
so over
yes.
8 turns, if you added, like every time you play a card, if you added some more, however much the converted mana cost, you drop 23 worth of mana in those 8 turns.
And it would goldfish out 37 damage and utilize 73% of the mana that it could use. So that means it only left untapped, what that would be 27% of your mana. So in limited, that's very important. You want to be doing things every turn. You don't want to be, mana is your resource. It's just like your life total. You don't want to be not utilizing it to your potential. So this is, with the simulations, on average, it was using 73% of the mana available to use 23 mana and 37 damage. Of course, you can if you want to go to 10 turns or 7 turns, this number will change, and it will give you a few different suggestions with decks based upon that. Because if, of course, you want to go incredibly aggressive, you don't want a deck that's good at 10 turns. You want something more like 6 or 7 turns. So let's see here what it brought up for us. So it's going with 7 forest, 7 plains, and 3 islands, and it's utilizing. I guess you guys, for reference, have the deck that I both constructed and the deck that, or just all the ones that I opened. So there's kind of the deck list of cards, and it's highly prioritizing like the Jungle Pioneer, which were some of the better cards, the Merfolk Branchwalker, and then it is going for the Overgrown Armasaur, which is a 4/4, the Araska Frillback, 4/2 for 3 mana. And then we have the Spirewinder, the Diviner, the Temple Altasar, the Imperial Ceratops, and the Paladin of the Bloodstain. I think when we ran it for about 5 minutes a couple times, the only thing that changed here is it was running a tally in here and the other red-green. And actually, did that actually have that card in there? Let me see, because we actually put it in a card. No, I thought I changed it. Yep, it's in here, the Raging Regisar. I called it Raging Reptiles, and it couldn't find it, so the Regisar. So I think if we would have allowed it to build a little bit longer, it went for a Tali Primal Storm, and we'll just add these real quick, and because I think I remembered the list. That was in there. That was in there. The Needletooth Raptor was in there, and I think that was all that it was grabbing from the red, and then we'd swap out the blue, which is only finding the Spire and maybe some blue cards in the nope sorcery. This was pretty similar. Divine Verdict, Plummet, Plummet we'll take out here. And the Dreadnought was not in the list either, if I remember correctly. So we're at 40 cards, right? And then we're going to take out all the lands. And now we can show you that if this is what we'd want to run, it can actually do the mana, the job of putting in the mana for us. So it's going to find us 17 lands, and it's going to try to find us the perfect scenario. I think we only do this for 1 minute, though.
Yeah,
but I think it should be able to run through it for 1 minute.
Yeah, 1 minute should get up to, on your computer, I'm sure it'll crack 25, 30,000 tests on whatever it settles in, and be pretty confident about it.
Trevitt says, how long can we download an AI that solves Modern? Well, I mean, this is the exciting stuff, because this is the groundwork. No one's really played around with this sort of thing. Eventually, I think someone's going to be able to program decks in there just to sit there and simulate against each other. And this is exciting stuff. So yeah, this basically found a very similar 4 mountains, 7 forests, 6 plains. It then shows you this on the score, how many times you'll get mana screwed. So 3% typically is dangerous. It's not too bad. 3 to 4% is acceptable. I don't think you'd want to be above that. But this one is actually going to pump out 42 damage with the utilizing 73% of the mana and dropping out 22 points of mana. So that is pretty. The score is 667. What did we get up to? 730-ish, I thought. Or did we get?
Yeah, you had a strong red-green build yesterday.
Yeah,
that had a pretty high score. But these stats look pretty good.
Yep.
Comparatively.
And I mean, this is very similar to the list that I put together. Like, now it really dropped out. Now, it still kept a higher white count. Utilized some of the earlier drops in white. And this is where you can make some edits too. Like, okay, I don't like this card. We'll take it out and put something in. It just kind of shows you what curve you'd want, especially if you want to utilize these higher converted mana cost stuff. And that's what's really cool about this program too, is if there's just a few cards you want to run. So say, for example, I want the Needletooth Raptor, I want the Raging Regisaur, I want the Atali Primal Storm, and I want the Jungleborn Pioneer and the Merfolk Branchwalker. Those are the ones you want. You can take everything else out. So we don't want this, we don't want this, we don't want the Diviner. We don't necessarily want the white, so we're going to take all the white out, and that's still, we want the Hunt the Weaks, the strength of the pack, and the Savage Stomp.
And real quick, before you run it, like if you just leave red-green in here and you hit think, it will only put red-green in. If you want to splash white, just put at least one white card in here. It'll understand that you're considering red, white, and green. So you got to make that decision.
From my pool, do we want to take out the lands or we'll fill it up? I can't remember if you want to reset all the lands.
It does basic lands for you every time. You never have to touch them.
Okay, so these are the cards that, and then we're going to scroll down here to see. I want this card as well, the Overgrown Armosaur, because I think it's going to be one of the key cards in the strategy. So then it will tell you, okay, this is where it really helps with limited, because these are the cards I want to use. Now, what can supplement this? And this is where it's going to really help new players get an edge, is by putting the cards they want to play with and then running a test. So I think we're gonna put it up a little bit higher. So bear with us. If you have any questions here, just throw them in the comment section, and while it's thinking, we'll try to talk about your questions. So I'm gonna go ahead, and this still looks good, and yep, we will go ahead and hit the think, and we'll watch it in action. So it doesn't evaluate the abilities in the text box, because you can tell Travis is a one-man team right now, correct? That's it. You know, this is all you programming stuff in. So it will read some of the basic stuff. Like I know on one of the pirates, it was like reading the raid ability, at least factoring that into the power output.
Yeah, we're actually a team of 4 now. But yeah, it's been my brainchild for 3 years, and we're building the team up a little bit. You know, we got a UI guy, we got some build guys, and now I have this really smart friend from MIT. And he can tell you all about the algorithm. I was struggling with how do you use the computer power to like evolve a deck, and you know he can go on and on about quantitative annealing. I don't really know what it all means, but except that you can see that when it starts to think, it's very chaotic, and over time it gravitates and it calms down. So there's a lot of science behind this, and but just remember, it really doesn't understand what your cards do. It's really helpful. If you've got removal you want to put your removal in your deck. Don't leave it to chance, right? You know, put the things in. Be a deck builder, and then let this scientifically supplement your curve. It's really just looking at your basics of like, could I have played this? And we understand dual mana, and so we're really focused on everything that relates to mana, like. Kevin, what's that card? It's a blue card. It's like pirates, and you get a couple of treasure tokens.
There's a Prosperous Pirates is one. Sailor of Means is another one. Yeah.
Yeah. So we do have both of those programs. So when it casts, it's actually simulating the games, playing them just like you would, but millions of times faster. So when you play Prosperous Pirates, you do get the treasure tokens, and it does think about using the treasure tokens. So really, we're trying to program anything that's related to mana. And we're finding the results are at least good, right? You know, I mean, they're not bad. They're pretty decent.
Yeah, and I've already benefited from it. I thought it proves it to you with your curve. I mean, even just goldfishing, it's going to show you, okay, what are you expecting to do with your cards? Well, one of the problems I think when we ran the green black list is saying I was not taking advantage of my mana. My mana was like, it was very low, the percentage of mana that was being used in the tests. I was petering off very, very quickly. So if I was expecting to go to a turn 8 or a turn 9, good luck. Like if they stabilize, I'd have to take them out very early. And anyway,
yeah, I think you're in the low 60s with.
I think I was even I think it might have been a little bit lower than that. Now Zach's bumping things.
Yeah.
What are you doing over there?
My bad.
Anyway, so and then I'll run the tests on the 2 decks that I have built right now too. I'm just trying to see like it's gonna. I'm pretty certain it's gonna find a very similar build that I built after actually looking at my pool and giving it some time. So let's see some other questions here. So let's see. There was a good question here. Where can you download this? This is something that is still in the alpha stages. So I guess, Travis, you want to give your plan of the releasing of this app?
Sure. We're really close to release. It's first going to be in the Windows store because I like to run it on my Windows computer. A lot of power there. And so that'll come out. Just search MTG space Xray and you're going to find it. We will then release it to the Android store because that's the next easiest store. And then finally iOS. So we're going to rapidly, it's going to be cross-platform. It will also be available on the Mac computer. And just to give you a hint, this type of computation would take 2 to 5 times longer on your Android phone or your iOS tablet, right? So the computers have a lot of power. What's going to be easy to run on your phone is like scoring it or perfecting your mana. So just keep that in mind. You know, you need maybe 2 to 5 times longer than what we just ran to get the same results on a phone, but it's going to be available on all those. So it looks like you got your deck result back.
Yep. So a couple other questions we have here. Yeah, and this one, another comment is, yeah, that's one aspect of MTG that's hard for new players to understand is the curve and the number of lands. Yes, this is why I said in the opening, this is going to be good for people that really want to get the mathy stuff, like want to prove their own math. And also for new players or people that just aren't good at this, it is going to show you the correct amount of mana to run in your particular deck and give you some other suggestions of how you can actually utilize more of your mana. So let's see here. We had another good question. Let me find it.
I got one follow-up comment to that question though. So right now you're witnessing it think through millions of games to come up with the fact that we should run 9 forests and 8 mountains. Now, as an illustration, Kevin, you can go to the hamburger menu near the deck, and there's a simple mana calculation. If you click simple mana, that does something that you might have been able to do on your calculator. It weights the number of red and green you have. You just click on your screen there. And so simple mana came up with the same thing. But what's interesting is sometimes the simple mana, what you would do on your calculator, is a little bit different than what it would do after simulating millions of games. So we've got the mana button down below. You know, you can always feel good that if it's run, you know, just focused on your mana and run, you know, 30,000 repetitions and tried 68 combos, you can feel pretty confident that, you know, if you put those lands in, you're going to get good results. So I just wanted to make that comment. That's what I've learned as a developer. I've been taking my decks home from Friday Night Magic. At Friday Night Magic, of course, I only have time to do this like a human would, right? Like I come up with land ratios like everybody else does. But when I come home, I check it with this program, and I've learned a lot from it. Sometimes it's not the ratio that I think. That's what I'm trying to get across. That's what I like about this.
So this does work, D-Manny, this does work on other formats besides Limited. You go in the settings and just adjust it. So yes, it does. We're just doing this for my pre-release pack that I opened. And what else? There was another question on that. Where did I find it? At me if you have a question. It's a lot easier for me to find it if you at me.
Let me follow up on that last question. So right now I'm really focused on Limited, right? But you'll notice in the settings, if you go to it, we've got Constructed and we've got Commander. Now I want to tell you, there's only 1,400 cards in here because we're starting with whatever would be in Standard. So if you go to Commander, don't expect Atraxa or anything like that. Like I just put it in as a nicety. We're really focused on Limited. For instance, if you go to Standard, it doesn't enforce that you need 4 cards. You can do what if. You can literally put 5, 6 cards of Opt and be like, wow, if the computer had 8 copies of Opt, how many would it stop at? Because we actually have Opt programmed in. And so we were doing that just to find out like how good Opt is. So, but try to think of this as a Limited program right now. That's where we're focusing all our efforts. And you know, I can't tell you what it would do if you try to brew in standard right now, but I think that's an interesting application.
All right. Yeah, there's another. So at me again if you have another question, because I missed there was one that was talking about something with the app, but I can't find it now here. So anyway, let's just go back over to what it's found for us. So this particular one says wants 9 forests and 8 mountains. So it thinks that we want 17 here. Well, I think we did want it to put in 17. So it is going to have a Tali in here, as well as the Raging Regisar, and then the Needletooth Raptor, the Fathom Fleet Firebrand. It has the Collared Raptor. And one thing in the future, which we discussed yesterday, is you do have plans to try to utilize the abilities on creatures, correct? Like the Sun-Collared Raptor.
Like the Mana Sinks and stuff is going to be our next target. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then so the Brazen Freebooter. This is a very, if you look at this little curve here, look at the cards that are being played. Look at the amount of the non-creature spells. Now, of course, the Pirate's Cutlass might want to be taken out because they're oh, not Pirate's Cutlass. That's actually pretty good. Pirate's Cutlass is fine in here. It synergizes up with it. But maybe if you don't like the Dust Legion Dreadnought, this is something you could take out and replace it and then run it with. And then it doesn't know what instances do. So it's just trying to utilize the best curve of even instances. So there might be some better things at the moment that you could run. Of course, you wouldn't want a Demolish in here, for example. So you'd find a better replacement. So you can take out the Demolish. Buccaneer's Bravado is fine because it can give one of those Pirates Double Strike. Shake the Foundation. What does that one even do? That does 1 damage to creatures. That's probably pretty bad in our deck with a bunch of 1 toughness merfolk that come out. But so for example, we can take that out.
And I want to point out something that Kevin's doing. He's hitting this little right arrow thing and jamming it back in his sideboard. If you were to hit Think Again, it might come back in your deck. If you think it's a D grade card or a sideboard only card that you don't want to see in your deck again, you can hit the minus symbol and it'll take it out. Literally, yep. Yeah, it won't be in your pool anymore.
If you're like, I never want to use Demolish, it's gone.
Right. Mm-hmm. Just don't even let it consider it.
Yep. So, for example, maybe throw in like the Tanolis Crowd? Can't pronounce words today. Been a 5-hour stream. But you could throw in any one of these cards thinking that, okay, maybe this 1/1 Haster Fanatical Firebrand would give me some scenarios with Enrage. We have a couple Enrage cards. Maybe a Commune with the Dinosaurs will help me dig for Italia. That'd be a good one to put in there. And then you can rerun it and it'd give you a score as well. The score will probably be lower for the utilized mana, but it's going to be a more impactful card than, say, a Demolish, for example. So
yeah, well, why don't you put those back in there and hit the score? We never got to see, how did it score?
Oh, with the Demolish? Yeah, we got it up to.
Well, I mean, whatever your final build is that you'd really run, like get it up to 40 cards, hit the score button, and let's see. And Kevin pointed out Plummet has the wrong casting cost. That's because previously I had an API. I could just slurp the cards into this program. The last 200 for Rattles of Ixalan, I had to type in by hand. So I'll be going over that and making sure they're all correct again. Looks like your damage. It looks like your score and damage is up a little bit.
7, 12, 22. You utilize 73% of all mana for 44 damage. That's pretty solid. So it's gold fishing 44 damage on 8 turns is what it's pushing out. So
not bad.
That is a pretty good pool.
And something you can do is a what if analysis. So you can go back to your deck and if you can say, what if I got Raging Regisor? Uh-huh. Let's say you actually scored 2 of those somehow. You could just hit plus and add a second one and take something out of your deck, rescore it, and you could see like how much does this card really affect your score, and that's a pretty significant result.
Damage.
So you can tell it's a great card. So that's how you can kind of, scientifically, I don't know, at least from a Goldfish perspective, kind of get an idea of what that would have done for your deck.
All right, so let's throw in a filler card right here. So that's what we kind of got up to with this particular deck. I'm in a hurry to score some of my other decks that I built with it. So actually, if I were to build exactly the list that I've got going right now, I'm sure we'll try it out to see how it would punish But the good thing about this is I have a deck built right in front of me here of what I would run with the pool that I receive. So I'm going to hurry and build it in there. It's going to utilize a lot of these same cards. And let's just go here. So let me throw all these back into the sideboard, and we're going to have it fix the mana for me because it's a 3-color deck. So we come over here and then we force it all back to the sideboard. I'm just going to, let's come back over here so it gets, whoops, not create a new deck. Let's see, go back to that. Decks, and it was this one. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to add the cards. So this, what I came up with, I think the best way to build this deck is going to be going in a teamer. So I'm going to throw in some specific cards here, and I'm going to make it run the Highland Lake since we know we want the Highland Lake in this teamer build. Okay, so the green cards that I'm going to utilize in this particular one, we're going to start with the Merfolk Branchwalker. So let me find the Diviner is in here. So we want the Diviner. We'll throw in the Hedonist Climbs in here as well. I'm going to throw in the Armisar and the Merfolk Branchwalker, both of the Pioneers, or all of the Pioneers. The Atali, Raging Regisar. I think the only other red card that I ended up wanting to use in here is the Needletooth Raptor. And then we have the Frillback. Did not quite make the cut, I don't think. Let me see what I did here. No, it did not. Both Hunt the Weeks. The Strength of the Pack was in here. The Savage Stomp. Let's see, we have the Pioneers, Hunt the Weak, Strength, Overgrown, Diviner, Commune with the Dinosaurs, because that's fixing. And then onto the blue, we have the Run Aground is in here. Release the Wind. Hornswaggle is also in here, yes. River Sneak. And we then have Prosperous and Sailors. So Prosperous Pirates and Sailor of Means. And this should give me 23 cards if I did it correct. No, I need to add one more. I'm missing one. Oh, we got a tally, right? Let's see here. Sailor, Sailor, Prosperous, Release, River, Run Aground, Hornswaggle. Did I get all those? Okay.
You are really up to 22 cards.
Yes, I know. Yeah. So I'm looking for one. There was one more. Oh, there's one card in my entire decks that had overlap. I made 2 decks. And there was one card that had overlap, and it was the Brazen Buccaneer. So where's the Brazen Buccaneer at? Demolish. There, or Brazen Freebooter. All right, so this is the deck that I have right now. It's a 23-land Highland Lakes in here just for, because we're going to force it in here. And then, so I can click on the mana, and it will find a good, because this is what's the problem with 3-color decks. 3-color decks, you can try to figure out scenarios. Oh, I want by turn 3 to definitely have a green source because we have 3 jungle pioneers, so I want to be heavier on green. But this is where the program really comes into play. It's going to show you exactly where you want your mana base to be able to cast your cards, and this can save you a lot of pain. Because some of the worst things in Limited is to get either too much mana or not enough mana of the certain type. We're not talking about Mana Screw and Mana Flood. We're talking about completely not having the scenarios you need to pump out these cards optimally on the turns that they want to be out. And so it's going to find a 7-4-4-1. Yep, that's exactly how I theorized the mana would be for this. And then if we do a score, this one is going to have a lot lower damage output expected when you're running Sailor of Means rather than a 4-2 for 3. But, of course, the idea of this deck is to stall the board until we get our finishers, being Hedonist Climb and the Atali. So, the good news, though, is it is still utilizing 67% of the mana. You're still dropping 20 cards, gives me an overall score of 383, and says we're going to only get color screwed 3% of the time. And so it lets you kind of legitimize, is this deck something that I'd want to actually sleeve up and run it? All right, so
and just to be clear, it's dropping 20 mana over your 8 turns, not 20
oh
cards.
yeah, sorry, 20 mana. Yeah. So that was scenario A. Scenario B, let's go ahead and all to sideboard again. Let's see what the red black pirates portion of this would go. I think it is up to here. Okay, so first of all, we have, let me re-click on so we get rid of the program sometimes clumps up when we do this too many times. All right, so let's go over to the black cards. So first of all, in this deck, we have the Dusk Legion, Dusk Legion Zealot, the Dinosaur Hunter, the Grasping Scoundrel times 3. See, and for goldfishing's sake, it's saying this is a 2/1 because optimally it is going to be attacking in every turn rather than a 1/1. So it's reading that in. And the Fathom Fleet Border. So we have the Fathom Fleet. Then we have the Skymarch Bloodletter. And does it read the damage? It probably doesn't read the damage it does when it comes into play at the moment with the.
It does. We don't have that one programmed.
Okay. Then we want
we will be getting to things like that, but first we're going to go deep on any enter the battle effects that deal with mana, and then mana sinks that can be performed on creatures, and we'll keep working up the pyramid from there.
Vanquish the Weak, Reaver Ambush times 2, and then we have the Gruesome Fate and Direfleet Poisoner. Where's the Gruesome Fate? And then for our artifacts, we're going to run the Pirate's Cutlass and the Fell Flagship. And again, this is something that this deck would get a higher score because basically everything is a pirate, and the Fell Flagship isn't reading that it's giving all the pirates. But again, this is something they're working on to make this more efficient. So the more time this goes on, the better and better this program is going to be at kind of rating and ranking the decks. But still with the mana, just the theories behind the mana and the curve, this is invaluable, and it's a good start. So, by the way, just to make it clear, there's no sponsorship for this video. This is just because Travis and I met, and he's been talking, he's been showcasing this app for, since, I want to say September. I've watched him develop this app, and I've just been a believer in things like this, and I'm a huge proponent of if you believe in something, give it its time in the light. So again, I give this sort of to anyone that has anything magic related. If you want to showcase it, definitely reach out to me and I'll give it a look. And I'm not gonna push anything just because this is definitely something I believe in. So we have the Buccaneer's Bravado as doubles. And then the Sun-Colored Raptor. Of course, this one would get a little bit better of a score, too, in goldfishing because you can pump in. I've actually been very impressed with this card, though. A lot of people have used it against me in the pre-release, whatever you want to call this league they're doing. The pre-release on MTG, the kick the LGSs in the nuts release. Let's see, the Brazen Freebooter. Where'd the Brazen Freebooter go? This one was... already at it. Trove, Dual Shot, Path, Demolish, Shake the Foundation, Fathom Fleet Firebrand. That's definitely in there. That one's in there. The Crown is not. There it is. The Freebooter, Fenneckle Firebrand, Fathom Fleet, and then the Swaggering Corsairs. Where are the Corsairs? There they are. Both the Corsairs. And this puts us at 23. Yep, that was where we wanted to be. And I don't know if this deck actually wants to go to a 24th. I believe it does. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, this should have 24. I'm missing a card. Swaggering, Grasping, Dusk. Dinosaur Hunter. Was that one utilized? It was. Recover, Anointed, Argyl's Bloodfast. That's a sideboard card. Dual Shot, no. Pat the Metal. I'm missing one card real quick.
As a curious fact, we actually have Trove of Temptation programs. That was my first test case for treasure tokens. So you do get treasure tokens from that. If that's the red enchantment I'm thinking of, right? Where
It
they have
is.
to
Yes, it
attack.
is. Why am I missing
Yeah.
something here? Double, have triple grass, gruesome fate ×1, vanquish, reaver, buccaneers, bravado. Yes, yes, yes. Fill flagship. Oh, it's cutlass. Cutlass didn't get put in. Let's see where the cutlass is. Right there. All right. So now we can do the mana, and then we can score it, and this will show you perfectly where whether it be 9 and 7 or 8 and 8 or 10 and 6. I think that's what it's trying right now, thinking it's heavier, wanting those scenarios to get that 1-drop red out, because if you actually do look at it, it's not that important to have red early on. So it's probably going to say, so looking at this just by eyeballing it, I'd probably run 8 and 8, but this is probably going to prove to me that going 9 and 7 is the right route. And I think we can score it 2 different ways, right? That should affect the score if we take one of the lands out. And so I'll show you the score of the 9 and 7. It's dropping 18 of the mana at 60% with 38 damage. It's pretty good damage output for creatures that become less relevant as turns go on. You're getting color screwed 2% of the time, and yep, a 395 score. So if I were to simply remove a swamp and add a mountain,
I bet you're not going to even see a difference in the score. Like within, I think both are correct. It's very, very close.
Yeah, yep. There wasn't any difference in it, but I think 9 and 7 now, with the amount of times you want that 1-drop, the Grasping Scoundrel out, is definitely the way to go. So both seem pretty good of the 2 different lists. Where this one would probably is if we took the settings down and scored the 2 of going, so we only want to go to 6 turns with this, or 7 turns, and then we rescore it, and then it would say, okay, now we're using 65% of so our deck starts to peter off later on, whereas other decks actually start to utilize more of the percentage of the mana later on, like if they don't have a lot of good 1s and 2s drops, if they have a lot of 3, 4, 5s. And this can show you exactly where this deck wants to win by. So you can make adjustments based upon that too, because this is good damage. That's 31 damage goldfishing by turn 7. That's phenomenal. You're going to be, if your opponents are not protecting themselves, if they have a real clunky mid-range deck, this deck is going to overwhelm them. So I think that's what I've done. I've made 2 different decks for the pre-release, whereas you'll have, if it's good against aggro, I mean, if I need to go, if my opponent's deck is very good against aggro, then you can switch over to the teamer version. If they're very susceptible to aggro, run the pirates. And this has been a nice little tool to figure out those scenarios. So any questions real quick? Any other? The term goldfishing. I guess this is an important one in the Magic culture. Goldfishing is something, everyone has done it before. What you do is you just shuffle up your deck, draw 7 cards, and play with no one. You're simulating like you did have an opponent. So it's like, I drop a land, cast this. You're doing scenarios without an opponent. That's what's called goldfishing. No one's interacting with you, and you're just trying to figure out. Of course, games don't end up running like Goldfish does, because people are putting out blockers, killing things, type things. But it's a good overall view of what your deck can do if it's uninterrupted. That's going to give you a good base scenario. So I think everyone's Goldfish, right? We've all built a limited deck, and before round 1 goes, we've all Goldfished it. At least every tournament that's how I'm killing the time. So, all right. Any other questions? All right. So Cody says he'd utilize this for EDH. That is just, you got to give these guys patience, though. There are so many cards in Magic the Gathering, so many. I think by the time they get to EDH, though, you're gonna be looking at staple stuff. So, or possibly even like you're gonna have to request the data be programmed in. I'd assume that's the only way to realistically get it down.
Yeah, right now, if you want to build an EDH deck out of what cards are available in Standard, you could do that, but I don't really think that's what you want. It will take us some time to put the other cards in from Frontier and then all the way back to Modern and Legacy. We'll eventually get those cards in, and they'll be available in the program.
Alrighty. There's not a public version yet, James. It's all going to be released, and then, yep. Of course, we don't want this getting in the public. Well, copies of this before you can imagine the your project for 3 years gets compromised. So as soon it is released, I will let everyone know. Okay, and Jake, this does work for all. We showed that it does work for all of the formats, and yeah. Any other questions that people have for us?
If there's not more questions, I did have one comment they
Okay.
may not have thought of, and it's how you get your deck in and out. We never really showed them the export feature, but something I like to do is, I take my MTGO sealed pool and I put it in.
Yeah, that was a question someone had earlier. Is this for just MTGO? Absolutely not. This was not even done on MTGO. I painstakingly wrote down all the cards that I opened in. It actually didn't take me that long. With the pre-release pack, opened one of these bad boy pre-release packs, wrote them down. We imported the list to using the import-export function from a text file, and that's how we got all the cards into the system. So that is, yep, that's exactly how we did this. So but MTGO makes it simple. MTGO, you literally can log on to MTGO. Let me pull up MTGO here. Oh wow, MTGO is still running. Maybe that's why it's not as fast as we were doing tests yesterday. Let's put it on screen here. So MTGO does have this function of any. So we can go to a collection, and in fact, I wonder if we can pull up. Does it still save drafts? It used to, in freeform. It used to save the drafts. 2015. Nope, doesn't look like it does anymore. It just has stuff from 2017 vintage is the last one. But if you're still in your draft league, let me see if I do go to play, and if I click on where were we at? We're in leagues, Ixalan Preview League. See if it will show the last deck. Yeah, it should here. I wonder if it will let us export it. View previous deck. Oh man, yep, I can export it. So, for example, I can export, and we can go over here, and now I can import it. Let's see. Okay, that's just I need to add. Whoops, that's my old one. Let's see, where did it go here?
You might want to make a new deck and update that one. If you add your
deck to my deck there. Yeah, I just did that. It was going to have a double pool of what my double pool would give me. But I think we're done with that one, so it's all good. I'll have to find out what this does. Anyway, I exported it. I don't know where it went. I'll have to find it. Give me a second here. We'll load this back up. And I think...
So you can take a net deck off of other sites, or you could take your MTGO and export it.
Does it open the dot deck yet? Or have you not been able to utilize the dot deck?
Well, the dot deck, you would open it up in Notepad, copy it.
Does it open up in Notepad? I've always had issues with it. Let's see what I do. What happens if I click on it?
Yeah, I open one. It's just a text file. And you would copy the text that's inside there, slam it into the import export and hit update. And it should read it. At least it was a couple weeks ago when I tested it. So otherwise, a simple text format of like one space, then the card name on each line will get your deck in here.
There we go. That one did it.
One caveat with MTGO, you can take the data out of MTGO, put it in here pretty quickly, but once this has the results, I haven't found any way to just tell MTGO, here's my deck list, I want you to re-import it. I haven't gotten there, so I do put them up side by side once I have the brew that I want using MTG Xray, have MTGO, and I just by hand enter my deck list in MTGO again, picking the cards that I want to save. So we don't have it two-way yet. I don't know if they're going to ever allow that, but you can at least get it out.
So there was my sealed pool right there. Let's just do a score on this one real quick. That's what I ran today. It was not dropping a particular amount of mana. Oh, we have it on 7 still. Let's go in and get this back to 8 so that it's comparing to earlier, and then we'll rescore. So this one is dropping 18 points of mana, 30 damage, and a 59% utilization. Color Screw is quite high. I mean, it's probably because it doesn't realize Travis Amulets. Of course, it can't read how well Travis Amulets fix, which 2 of them, of course, is going to significantly reduce the Color Screw of this particular deck, and it's doing 30 damage over a course of 8 turns. So we went 3-1 with this deck. Well, actually, I went 3-0. Zach went 0-1 with the dinosaur pool that he built. Just curiosity's sake, I'm going to see what this would have built with today. So if you watched the stream earlier, this is we can theory craft. Let's add it all to the sideboard, and let's go ahead and run a nothing at all. We'll run a think, and let's see what it wanted to come up with. We have the settings at 5. Yep. And hit the think, and let's see if it liked my parts or if it liked your dinosaur, Zach. But James,
yeah, I mean, I can't stress enough, if you've got a strategy one or something you want to put in your deck and build, be a builder, brew what you want. Like, don't.
Yeah, use this as a tool. It's a tool. It's not going to end all. It's not going to magically make this deck for you that you're going to win your pre-release with. But it is going to be an invaluable tool to basically prove things to you. It's absolutely use all the tools to your advantage.
And something's interesting with Ixalan, or a couple formats back. Some of the pros, they do their podcasts and things, and everybody thought like the speed of the format's very important. So your assumptions of how many turns you want this to goldfish out, once you learn a little bit more than the other people and you realize, oh, it's a really slow format or a really fast format, changing the speed, the number of turns at which it's goldfish out, and using this tool, that's a big advantage. So if you've got to put your smarts into this. There's a lot of knobs and dials that you can play with.
And I guess that while we're talking about that, that's some things that I believe you're going to try to implement. We talked about last night, is a way to score cards in the future. Might be a way for this program to then give weight to certain cards. So even though it can't read every ability and figure out what that ability does, like how good that is, like a Kitesteel Freebooter, for example, it's going to compare it to a 2/2 and say, oh, this 2/2 is better than a 1/2. And it's going to try to make its decision based on that. In the future, so we're talking about plans of maybe giving a way to rate it, or even stealing some pros ratings on cards to give a way for the program to weight certain cards and put that into its consideration.
Yeah, as Kevin was mentioning, like if we could weight it, and we could implement that. So a lot of things on our roadmap. I think the weighting of cards is probably the next thing, as well as the mana sinks for cards. And in terms of the weights, we're either considering, give us some feedback. We're considering letting you rate it 1 to 5 stars, or maybe letting the community, build kind of a central database, and you guys come up with your own ratings as a community. The third option is we could trust somebody, some pros ratings. I'd ask them if we could use them. And, if some pro wants to rate them, I would have a settings in here where you could use, we'd be lucky to get LSP's ratings, right? He's pretty good, so maybe you'd see a drop down. He hasn't endorsed this, but, maybe you'd see a drop down saying use LSP's ratings or use community ratings. But I'm open. I mean, this would be really, really interesting to hear from you guys. Even right now, if you had an idea, whose ratings would you trust? What would you want to do with that?
Well, speaking of which, James asks, is there any way that he can help? Do you need anything, data input, bug testing, anything else like that? Is there a way to contact you?
Yes. Let's see. I have some kind of alias. I think it's info@mtgxray.com. If that doesn't get you a response,
Xray, all one word?
Yeah, mtgxray.com.
Info at
So info.
mtgxray.com. I put it in the chat. mtgxray.com.
Yeah, try that at first. If I'm wrong about having that alias set up, I'll set it up. And in Kevin's video, I guess if that's wrong, we'll update the correct email to get a hold of me. And yeah, we could really use feedback, because there's nothing worse than kind of inventing a program and solving a solution without listening to the people who are going to use it. So I'm all ears right now.
Awesome. Yeah, and that's definitely my biggest pet peeve when working with developers is you'll meet some of them that have a vision and refuse to change on that vision. So I love showcasing people that do listen, and this has been a good experience. Or I've watched it grow over. I think you reached out to me late summer, and then we finally got around to it in fall. But just the progress. I think the first time you showcased me this, it was mainly, I mean, it was just the very skeleton of the program, and it still worked, but this is looking good. The athletics looks really good. It's very easy to use. So this one came up with 5 mountains, 5 swamps, 6 forests, and 1 forsaken sanctuary. This forsaken sanctuary is probably trying to think that I've noticed that we're have to bug out the dual lands, why it's like it's wanting the dual lands in here when they don't belong. We noticed that yesterday.
Yeah, I think when you see garbage like that, that's obviously an unessential garbage play, because you probably have no white in your deck, correct?
Yeah, this one didn't. It didn't find any white.
Yeah, so if you see something like that, then mainly it could have used more time. Like if it has enough time, it will realize that, one more swamp would have been a better choice. Mm-hmm. So that's just a sign of either be willing to accept that you'll see a little bit of garbage that you need to kick out and make your own decision, or iterate with it, on the 5 to 2 to 1 minute timeline, or bump it up to 10 minutes. I mean, it's solving some really hard problems, right? When it's solving your full sealed pool. So just understand, you can be a part of the computer decisions, because right now you can kick things back out, put them back in, or run it again. And so that's the idea I want everybody to get across. It's a brewer's tool, really.
Yep. So curve wise, it definitely wanted to go the route of kind of a mix between Zach's and my deck. I think there was an Atali in here. Did it not get a? There was an Atali. I wonder why it chose the Sun Crown Hunter over Atali. 5/4. Oh yeah, because it can dish off the damage. All right. So has a nice. It shows you a really good curve though. So you've got your 1s, your 2s, your 3s, your 4s, all the way up to a 6 and all the way up to a 7. So it's curving off. We score it. It is curving off to 28 damage with a 70% of mana utilized and 23 mana spent with a very, very low color screw for 3 mana. That is excellent for being able to run 3 colors, being 2%. And again, pumping out that 28 damage. And of course, then you can mess with things, say, I actually think that instead of the monitor, we'll throw out the monitor. Atali's just better here. So we're going to throw out the monitor and put in the Atali. Then we can rescore it and then see what it comes up with. And now it's pumping out less damage, is what it's saying over the course of the time. So it's saying if you're going to Atali, this is actually good. Like this is the problem that you saw with Zach's when Zach built the card is that much better. Like on paper, if you're comparing one card. I have to stress with new players, not all cards are created equal, kind of in a vacuum. So yes, if I compare this card with this card, this 2-drop, I can't see what I'm saying, but this particular 2-drop with this, or 4-drop with this particular 4-drop, 99% of the time this 4-drop's better, but that's not always going to be the case. You have to weigh things like how it works in your curve first of all, and then how it works in your strategy to then make that a decision of which ones should go in there. A better case is, instead of comparing actual converted mana costs, is maybe compare a 2-drop with a 4-drop. And in certain scenarios, even though the 2-drops are really, really bomb of a 2-drop, you need that 4-drop in the limited situation, because you need something that will have that sort of body on that turn. So I hope that makes sense to everyone. So anyway, did the stream go down for a little bit, people? I've heard that, but it's been live on mine so far. Hopefully YouTube corrects it. Any other questions before we cut this down? We have the way to contact Travis, and if you want to give feedback for everything, you know where to contact him. And if we have any other questions, we'll give it a second here. If not, I'd like to thank Travis for coming on. And yeah, I think the stream is actually acting up here.
Well, Kevin, I appreciate the opportunity to showcase this to your viewers, and this is the first time it's been shown, so I had a good time.
All right. Well, thanks for joining me.
Take care.